Welcome to How to Read Your BGE Bill. My name is Brandy Nealon. I'm the Director of Consumer Assistance at the Office of People's Counsel, and I'm joined by Jonah Baskin, Assistant People's Counsel. Today, we're going to be looking at BGE bills line by line, and we're also going to go over some terms that are kind of on all of the utility bills across the state. So we're going to talk about these terms first before we look at the utility bills because we run into them a couple of times throughout the bill. And like I said, it also is applicable if you are BGE, Pepco, SMECO, whoever your utility provider is. These are the terms that you're going to consistently see. So first we have the commodity charge or the supply charge. Sometimes it's called a fuel charge. But basically, this charge is for the gas or the electricity that you're actually using. So the amount of gas that you use is measured in therms, and the amount of electricity used is measured in kilowatt hours. So the utilities procure gas and electricity. It's through a very competitive procurement process, and it's actually regulated by the Public Service Commission. Now, the thing with commodity costs is that they can go up, they can go down. It's with the market, so it could lower or raise your overall bill. Now, you can also buy your supply from your local utility or from a third-party retail supplier. So there is another option, but again, today we're focusing on BG&E. The cost of your electric supply from your local utility company, so from BG&E, generally changes twice per year. There's winter rates and non-winter rates. Now, the set price, whether it be winter or non-winter, is known as SOS, or Standard Offer Service Price. Now, in the charge on your bill, SOS is going to include the utility's cost to purchase the energy itself, but it also has a bunch of other stuff in it. It's going to be the cost of transmission services, so like getting the electricity from far away, kind of more locally, the utility's administrative costs to purchase the electricity. There's going to be some taxes. It also includes uncollectibles, which just means bills from people who are also with the utility who weren't able to pay their bills, so kind of outstanding debt from residential customers, and then a markup for the utility company. Now, the cost of your gas supply is a little different. So electricity generally changes, like I say, twice a year. There's little, and we'll see it in the bill, there's little fluctuations that might be there, but the big changes are twice a year. Gas is different. This is going to be based completely on market purchases by the utility, and it changes basically every month. For BGE, it does change every month, and it's much more unpredictable than the SOS pricing for electric. And again, as a caveat, if you get your supply from a third party or retail supplier, while the supply is regulated, the price is not. So it's a little different than what we're talking about here today. And you should receive all the pricing terms from the supplier before you enter into a contract. All right, the second big piece, so we have the supply, the stuff you actually use, and the distribution. This is kind of a big pot of everything else. It's the cost of getting that gas or electric to your home. So it's going to include the cost of the utility's infrastructure that serves the customers and the utility's operational costs. So when we say utility infrastructure, what does utility infrastructure mean? It means the pipes, the towers, the wires, computers, and any other equipment and infrastructure that utility actually needs to deliver that gas or electric to your home. Most of the distribution charges that are on your bill make up the utilities. It's known as rate base, which is the utility's outstanding capital expenditures, which is just a fancy way to say it's the dollars spent on projects and equipment that replace or expand the utility's infrastructure. So the utility's profit is largely based on the size of its rate base. So them updating and replacing and expanding their infrastructure actually, because of the way it's set up, increases their profits. So the distribution charge does tend to increase over time. And the utility distribution charges are also set by the Public Service Commission in something called rate cases. It's collected both through volumetric charges, so based on the amount of supply that you use, based on what you're actually using, and a customer charge. And the customer charge is actually the next piece on here. This is a part of the distribution charge, but it's a little different, and we'll see it on the bill because it's a fixed charge. It's a flat monthly fee, and no matter how much you use, it's going to be the same. So if I'm using 500 kilowatt hours a month versus someone who's using 1,000, our customer charge will be identical. A couple more charges that we're going to see on all the bills and we're going to talk about through today is the Empower charge. This one's really important, and I hope that if you don't walk away with anything else, you walk away looking into this program because you're paying for it. Now, this surcharge supports programs to promote energy efficiency, like rebates for energy efficient appliances, home energy audits, things like that. There's some of them have income eligibility, some do not. So I would highly encourage everyone on this call to take full advantage of this. We have a YouTube video about this, which I can include in that email. Or if you don't want to mess with that, you can call your utility company and ask about it. Next, we have the Maryland Universal Service Program charge. This supports a program called EUSP, and it's for low-income households to help them pay their electricity bill. This is going to be a flat fee of 32 cents per bill. And then we have our local taxes. So while the distribution charges cover the utilities tax obligation related to profits, local taxes are going to be included on a separate line item. And the last couple ones, the environmental surcharge. Now, this funds projects led by MEA, the Maryland Energy Administration, like power plant research. And then we have our franchise tax, which is the sales tax for the utility service itself. Okay, and with that, we're going to get into the bill. We have a couple of pages. We're going to zoom in on some of these. So at the top here, we have the contact information for the utility company. Going down to the bill summary, this is the account holder's name, the address of where the electricity or gas is being delivered, and your account number. The issuance date. Now, this date is the date that the bill was actually created. Then we come down to previous balance, so your last due bill. Then payments received. That would be, when you last made payment and the date that they actually received it. If there's an outstanding balance from that previous bill, and then it breaks it down into electric, gas, and other charges. And so actually, D. Thornton, like I said, if you want to go ahead and put any questions you have in the chat. So it actually corresponds directly to these circles over here. So we have our electric, our delivery, and our other charges. And actually, it covers some of the terms we've already talked about as well. So we have our delivery, our distribution. We have our supply side, so what you're actually using, and then all those other like kind of taxes and those random little surcharges, a lot of them fit right in here. Same thing goes for gas. Now, you might notice that the delivery portion is much higher. It sometimes can be about 2/3 of what the actual supply cost was. And so if you're thinking, could this be right? Unfortunately, it is. So just to be aware of. Now, to the right of it, we see who our supplier is, which is BGE. And then we see electric choice ID number and gas choice ID number. Now, these two numbers are actually different than your account number. I always like to think of these as the Social Security account number, your Social Security number for the account. So if you were to move to a retail supplier, you would actually be using these numbers to move you, and it wouldn't be related to your account number. So these are, I would not share these numbers with anybody unless you are intending to switch to a different supplier. Okay, so these charges are going to include, like I said, supply, delivery, tax, and fees. And then this one at the bottom, this is going to be any type of rewards programs that you might be participating in. It also might include any late payments. If we go back over to this box, it tells you the total amount due. It's going to tell you when if you are due after this date, they can actually charge you up to 1.5% for the first month, and then there are additional charges that might apply. So we do encourage folks, like here's a due date. I wouldn't pay on July 6th. I would want to pay in advance if I can, especially if you're doing something like mail. They're not looking at the post date, they're looking at when they receive it. So I would be careful about paying on the due date. And like I said, if you can pay just slightly in advance, it might be a good idea. All right, so now we're going to dig into this. This is sort of the meat and potatoes of all the stuff that we've already been talking about. We're going to go electric, gas, and then we're actually going to take a second to look at this gray box at the bottom. So here's our electric. At the top, we're going to see our annual usage. The bars represent the kilowatt hours. We're going to see the average temperature for the time period as well. So like I said, if you're thinking that your bill is higher than normal, this is where I would check first to make sure you understand your usage. You can actually check your hourly usage within your account. So when people ask me, can you take a look at my bill? I think it's wrong. This is generally where I start. Below this is residential schedule R. This is just something the utilities have to do. They have rate classes for different groups of customers, and Schedule R is just the main rate class for residential customers. It's just the name. The billing period, now this can change, but it typically ranges 28 to 31 days, but it can be more, like in this bill example, this one's 33. And the reason they do it is just for operational purposes. They can't send out all the bills all at once on the same day. So they sort of spread it out. Next is the when you can expect the next scheduled reading. So this is when your bill is going to close. Then you have your meter number. Now, this meter number is specific to you, and it's also going to include the date that it was read. This is typically done remotely, especially in the BGE territory through smart meters. I think that's what most of us have. And they do that, and you can actually do this too if you look at your meter. You look at you compare it to the last month. So this is the previous read. So if this is February's bill, I would look at back at January and take a look at what my previous read is, what my current read is, just subtract it. So 364 kilowatt hours used. So then we come down and we can see it again, supply, delivery, taxes, and fees, just like this. Supply, delivery, taxes, and fees. So the supply, I wanted to include this one because it's two lines, and this can occasionally happen. You should normally just have one line here, but in case you have two and you're like, why am I being charged, two different rates? There's a reason. So again, SOS normally changes twice a year, but again, there might be slight fluctuations based on like the administrative cost might have changed or some of the supply costs might have changed. But they should be very small. So like in this example, it's 11852 versus 11154. So it actually went down. So for your first 143 kilowatt hours of the 364, you're charged at this rate. And then like I said, there was a change. So then the rest of it, the 220, you're charged at this rate. So if there's two lines, that's what it's for. Next, we go to the delivery. And like I said, there's a bunch of stuff kind of in delivery, but this is all about how it's getting to your house. So there's that customer charge we talked about. This is the flat fee. So in this example, everyone's getting charged $9.30, regardless of how much you used. Now, the Empower Maryland charge, that's for those weatherization programs we spoke about that you should definitely tap into if you haven't already. Like I said, either call your utility company or watch our YouTube video about this. But the Empower Maryland charge is good for those energy efficiency rate appliances and rebates. So you're going to be charged this amount based on how much you use. So you use 364, it's going to be whatever that rate was that was decided. The distribution charge, this is the operational cost, that infrastructure stuff that we talked about. And then BGE federal tax credit, you should actually be getting money back here. This is actually an offset from a multi-year rate case previously. Okay, then we go down to taxes and fees, and we've actually already hit all these too. This is the Maryland Universal Service Program. There's that flat fee of 32 cents that helps fund low-income assistance to help them pay their electric bill. Then we have the environmental surcharge. This is going to be for MEA and their power plant research projects, and then the tax. So there's the total. So 70.72. So that's sort of how that works out there. And then we're going to look at the gas, which is pretty similar, pretty similar. So here we are again with our annual usage. These are our therms. And then this is our average temperature. Residential Schedule D, sort of like Schedule R, it's just the other name for the main rate class for BGE gas service. Our billing period, again, this one's high. I wanted to use this because sometimes it can be very surprisingly high and also could be why maybe you're like, this is a little higher this month. It might be that they billed you for more days than normal. Your next scheduled reading, your meter number, when it was last read. Now this is a little different. So we have our previous reading, our current reading, there's our units, but then there's something called a therm factor. So your natural gas utility is constantly testing the quality of its natural gas because things like moisture and impurities can actually impact the amount of energy it contains. So the therm factor reflects the amount of energy contained in the gas that the utility delivered in any given month. So this number is going to vary month to month, but it really shouldn't be wildly different because they really are adhering to pretty strict standards regarding gas quality. So then we come down here, looking pretty familiar, supply, delivery, taxes, and fees, just like our circle. And again, this is just, I included the 2 months, or the two different charges because it changed, but it's the same idea as electricity. Gas delivery, there's our flat fee customer charge. For gas side, it was 15.55 in this example. Distribution charge, again, this is the operational piece. So what is it costing the utility to get it to our house, the infrastructure needed? The empowered charge, weatherization, there's that federal tax credit again. And then we have our taxes and fees, which is just our franchise tax. And there's the total. Now to go back, I want to talk about this little gray box. So if we're looking at the full screen, we went through this and this, and I want to take a look at this gray box. So in case you're wondering, this is just for electricity, but again, there's those two sort of times, those winter, non-winter. So they know that pretty well in advance. And so if you're trying to figure out what am I paying now versus what am I going to be paying in the pretty near future, you can check here. Now in this example, it's telling you when it's going to be when that price will be available for you to know. But this is great because you can plan for what it will be in the future. This is also great if you're thinking about shopping around for a retail supplier. This way you know what you are paying, what you will be paying. Now, something else I wanted to highlight on this page, it's kind of small here, but it's just as small on your bill. In the corner, you'll see this little thing over here. It's adjusted annual usage. And this is just kind of like a fun fact about you, but it also lets you know kind of how much are you spending per year. So in this example, it's 11,740 kilowatt hours is what you've used in the past 12 months. And gas, it's been 712 therms. So it's just sort of an interesting way to have it all add up, but it'll add up to this information up here. This will not be on everyone's bill. This is that other charges and credits. So if you participate in the Peak Rewards program or Energy Savings Days, you'll have another extra box. So the Peak Rewards program, unfortunately, this is no longer open for new enrollments, but for existing customers, you can earn between $12.50 and $25 per month based on participation level. And then for Energy Savings Days, these are the ones where you might get a call or a text from BGE and they're like, turn your AC down and, save some money. But basically, it's bill credits at about $1.25 per kilowatt hour when you reduce during an event that they kind of identify compared to your normal usage, and they'll pay you for it. And it's just so that they can move the load around because there's so many people with their AC on or whatever it might be. So that's the bill, and I wanted to just highlight the Public Service Commission again. So this is if you have a complaint against BG&E, you can file online here, or you can call them. If you're worried that your meter is not running properly, and you're being charged too much, your meter's running too fast, first you need to contact BGE and let them know. But if you're not satisfied with their answer, you can also file a complaint and request a referee test where someone will come out to come out to your house and test your meter. This is our contact information. We are available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. You can email us here. I respond to this email many times. This is our main telephone number, and you can sign up for our newsletters if you're interested on this website here.